81 minutes. Inside a major museum. Two disguised intruders moved from room to room, and no real help broke through the door. No interruption cut the night in half. How did fake officers get that much time inside? Early morning at the side entrance. A car stopped outside the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, and two men in Boston police uniforms stepped out with the kind of calm that does not ask permission. The hour helped them. At the side door, they rang. They said they were there for a disturbance call, a small explanation dropped into the dark, simple enough to sound routine. The bell kept echoing. Rick Abbott, one of the guards working that night, unlocked the museum door. The breach was only a moment long, one decision at the threshold, and then the men were inside the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum where they were never supposed to be. Mistake or signal? Inside, the performance ended. The fake officers took control of Rick Abbott and Randy Heestand, and one of them said it plainly. "Gentlemen, this is a robbery." Now the uniforms had done their job. One line changed the air. One of the robbers looked at the guards and said, "Don't worry, you'll be fine in about a year." Not tonight. A year. Down in the basement, the building went quiet. The guards were shoved to the wall, handcuffed, wrapped with duct tape, and chained to pipes in the basement, leaving the museum security systems behind them and the galleries open ahead. Nobody was coming upstairs. Then came Vermeer. The concert by Johannes Vermeer was lifted out of the museum, a painting so recognizable that its fame feels less like protection and more like a trap with no visible exit. Who steals that? Blades hit Rembrandt. The Storm on the Sea of Galilee, the only seascape Rembrandt van Rijn ever painted, was cut directly from its frame, and tiny paint fragments later marked the violence of that removal. A masterpiece can be wounded fast. Elsewhere, the hall kept widening. A Lady and Gentleman in Black, the Rembrandt self-portrait etching, Chez Tortoni by Edouard Manet, Degas sketches, a Chinese bronze beaker, a Napoleonic eagle finial. It was an odd list. On the museum walls, the empty frames stayed. At the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, visitors still face those gaps, the outlines left behind where the stolen artworks used to hold the room together. The wound never moved. Later, a harsher idea settled in. Investigators suspected the men inside may not have been choosing much at all, and that the targets had been selected earlier by someone they never had to name in the museum. A shopping list, not a frenzy. But Chez Tortoni complicates the myth. The Manet taken from another floor made the job look less disciplined, less clean, more like a crew that could drift off pattern even in the middle of a robbery that somehow still held together. That may be the strangest part. So the old question stayed alive. How could criminals profit from paintings too famous to sell? Experts had an answer, and it was colder than a sail. Masterpieces this famous could move as collateral, pass hand to hand as underworld currency, or sit in the middle of a deal without ever touching a wall. Agents went outward. Warehouses, underground storage spaces, safe houses, organized crime properties. The hunt stopped looking like a museum case and started moving through Boston, Massachusetts, and beyond, following the idea that the stolen artworks had circulated for years inside criminal networks, traded quietly and kept out of sight. Bobby Donati came into focus. Investigators fixed on a grim possibility that Donati may have helped organize the robbery so the paintings could be used in a bargain for Vincent Ferrara, an imprisoned mobster. Now the theft had a shape. 1991 closed one door. Bobby Donati was found murdered in what appeared to be a gang-related killing. A suspect was gone. Whatever he knew stayed where he left it. Another name surfaced quietly. Robert Guarente, a suspect linked to the case, told a friend he had temporarily possessed some of the stolen artworks before dying of cancer. For a moment, the paintings felt close enough to touch. Then that path failed too. Robert Guarente died of cancer, before the case could fully answer what he knew, and the claim he left behind hung there without a map, a location, or a painting anyone could put their hands on. For years, Rick Abath stayed inside the story. He was questioned extensively. Suspicion never really left, but the FBI said there was insufficient evidence to implicate him, and the man who opened the door that night remained in the narrow space between doubt and proof. In 2013, the FBI said it plainly. Investigators believed they had identified the thieves behind the robbery. It should have felt like the break. It didn't. Yet the same update bent backward. The FBI publicly admitted it still lacked enough evidence to prosecute anyone, so the case sat in that maddening position where names could exist, certainty could flicker, and nothing in court could move. Some imagined the works still breathing in the dark. Private collections, underground climate-controlled storage, rooms no visitor will ever enter, intact, hidden, unreachable. Others fear something worse. The canvases were handled violently. Storage may have been bad. Humidity, mold, rolling, folding, water damage. Long before the world kept staring at the empty spaces, some of the masterpieces may already have been ruined or destroyed. Even now, parts of the files stay shut. Sealed details and withheld details carry their own pressure, suggesting authorities may still be protecting something in the hope that someone alive will trade cooperation for reward money or immunity. So the silence does not feel empty. It feels managed. Back at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, the emptiness still holds. The empty spaces remain. The museum remains. And after 81 minutes, art history is still standing in those gaps, waiting for 13 stolen artworks that never came back.